Yeah, right. Thank you very much for tuning in. Here we get the Elon Musk warning about contraceptive pills, and I think people are going to start to get the message very, very shortly because, the emotion and changing behavior, maybe. I mean, it's hard to quantify that because the women are emotional creatures as they are, but, we get brain changes. Can that be quantified? Right? That's the question, right? Population level behavioral shifts, right? This is an interesting idea. It could be true, but this guy here, he's got a lot of money and all this stuff, and he's been warning about the drop in fertility rate, right? So that is something that we're warning about on this channel too. But is it true? I mean, is this actually true? So Elon Musk has warned about the dangerous side effect contraceptive pills can have on the emotions and behavior of women. Um, I don't know. Is it just me or the women in, well, especially in my hometown, right? They just I don't know. Do they act right? I'm not saying they do or that they don't, but I'm just asking, do they? Do they act right? Right? Uh, maybe not. I don't know. See, it's to the point where we don't even know what the normal behavior of a woman is, right? Is she always due to yell and scream and fight for and that's the thing too. They're always fighting and screaming, and they know that they're just going to get rewarded with alimony and child support, right? They know that if they do something as dastardly as breaking up a family, well, that's not too bad because they're going to be rewarded with they just call the police. Most of the time, the man has not committed an actual crime, yet he's going to be punished with, with years of payments, sanctions, and everything like that. But so the topic of today's video, and he's warning about the dangerous side effects of contraceptive pills can have on the emotions and behavior of women. So the tech billionaire responded to a post about a new study showing severe side effects of hormonal contraceptives. The use of hormonal contraceptives by tens of millions of women could plausibly have population level effects on behavior, including political behavior, right? So don't get me wrong. I mean, these women are taking and they vote, right? They vote. I'm not going to sit there for a minute and say repeal the 19th. I'm not that kind of guy, but. I mean, they do vote, and we do have, any kind of riffraff coming into office. I'm just saying, is that a connection? Can you make the link? Is there a direct causal link between this kind of, tens of millions of women that are taking these drugs and the riffraff that we see in office, right? That's what I'm saying, right? The Post stated a new study shows that women who use hormonal contraceptives exhibit significantly stronger emotional responses than women who are naturally cycling, and they also, interestingly, remember fewer details of negative events, right? The women, there's a joke about the women's, they make great archaeologists. They would be great for archaeology, right? They will dig up the past, right? Remember the fewer details for I don't know if you're I love women. Don't get me wrong. I'm just laughing because the women are always digging up the past. They're doing archaeology, right? Uh, Archaeology being, the science of digging up, dinosaur bones or whatever, or Egyptian mummies or whatever. But the comparison is that women are always, oh, you did this 4 years ago, and I'm mad today about this, right? Whatever, you know. Continuing, the Post noted that a study a study last year showed that hormonal contraceptives shrink the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, a region of the brain involved in fear processing and emotional control. Right? That is terrible. That's terrible. So read the warning on the box of anything you're taking. Musk responded. So yeah, do not trust Dr. Michelle Dow. Right? Read the warnings on the box. Right? So for sure. I mean, it's not like they're hiding it. It's just that the people are trusting these doctors like Dr. Michelle Dow, and she's violating the Hippocratic Oath and they're not just going to assume that doctors violate the Hippocratic Oath and the fiduciary duty, right? The fiduciary duty, right? The fiduciary duty, right? These patients trust the doctors, right? That's extremely concerning here. We get this is a terrible, terrible thing. Ventromedial prefrontal cortex, right? It will actually, alter the brain, right? This is bad. This is extremely bad, right? So we don't want that. This is not something that we want here. It is a it is just this is quite what happens if it's damaged, right? We get abnormal judgment, right? Can you imagine, these birth control pills? I'm not saying they are or they're not, but this is not, proof or anything. I'm not saying this is proof, but this is a suggestion that these birth control pills, give you a serious, side effect. Yeah. So then, the eccentric tech mogul has highlighted the severe side effect of hormonal contraceptives in the past. Last year, he said that hormonal birth controls make you fat, double the risk of depression, and triple the risk of suicide. This is clear scientific consensus, but very few people seem to know it, he concluded. The contraceptive pill has been linked to social ills and many medical problems such as breast cancer, hair loss, and increased risk of gestational diabetes, glaucoma, deadly blood clots, strokes, hardening of the arteries, and cervical cancer. So in 2005, a division of the WHO, the World Health Organization, these wonderful, wonderful people that are just so good and philanthropic, whatever. And the World Health Organization declared chemical contraceptives to be a group one carcinogen. The carcinogens, the highest classification of carcinogenicity. Sorry, carcinogenicity. There you go. Used only when there is sufficient evidence of cancer-causing effects in humans. Yeah. Um, and ironically, these chemical agents have also been linked with sexual dysfunction in women who take them were found in 2015 to shrink or make thinner two main regions of a woman's brain that control emotion and decision making, respectively, increasing their chances of developing Crohn's disease. Yeah. Additionally, when taken during puberty, these chemicals are linked with structural changes in the area of the brain as well. So I've been warning about that for a long time, right? Taking these young girls, right? These young girls taking these types of birth control pills and all that stuff, right? That is bad, right? So, but what's the point today is that there could actually be, and this is Elon Musk saying this. I'm not saying this, but the changes in the brain, right? These are not something that we want, right? Warping women's emotions, right? Warping women's emotions, right? As they're not emotional enough. Don't get me wrong, man. I love women, and this is a serious thing, man. We want to protect women, right? That's the point. I'm not being a misogynist here, right? We want to protect our women, our sisters, right? Our the future, of the wives, of the, you know, this is a creepy thing, man. This is a creepy thing, and this is a creepy, creepy thing. He did mention something very interesting here. Is that very few people seem to know it. Right? Very few people seem to know it. Did you ever check on the video on these videos? How many views there are? There's like none. Right? There's none. Very few people seem to be interested in it, even when we are talking about it, right? On some sort of platform, right? They don't pay attention, right? They just do not pay attention. They're going to switch off this thing and they're going to listen to Netflix, and it seems like some sort of kind of brainwashing or mind control kind of thing, right? That's literally what it seems like to me. Yeah, but anyway, very interesting stuff here. We're talking about contraceptive pills here, and the risk, right? The increased risk for the brain changes. But he's not talking about the fact that, and these sites are not talking about the fact that they don't prevent pregnancy, right? That's the main thing that I've been talking about that for some reason nobody seems to know. Nobody seems to be talking about. Yeah, nobody else is talking about that except you. So what does that mean? It's not true, right? Anyway, I'm not saying that this is even a real, person. It could be like some actor, we don't know. But what he's saying, or whoever this person is, and so this person, and if we follow the mainstream narrative, is that he lost one of his sons to this kind of ideology, and now this son is basically going to sterilize himself, and he's not going to have any grandchildren, and he's very sad about that, right? He wants to have grandchildren. if it's a true story, I'm not saying it is or not, but but that is the story. Is that his son has become trans, his own gender, and now he'll sterilize himself. He will never be able to have a child, and so, but thankfully for him, he's got a whole bunch of kids anyway. So maybe he'll be successful in having grandchildren. Terrible thing, man. Ugh. Imagine that. Contraceptive pills are warping women's emotions, right? I mean, for me, I mean, I'm not saying that they're, you know, making sense or anything. I'm really not because when I see the women that are on birth control pills, they just seem to not make sense, right? That they're always yelling and screaming and fighting. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. I've been around a lot of women. I mean, I'm not saying I'm some newbie by any stretch of the imagination, right? I have so many girlfriends, right? And they just don't act right, right? There's something about they do these things. Yeah, okay, so the men are acting perfectly. I never said that. I most certainly didn't say that. But can this pill alter the brain of a woman? That's a frightening thought. That's a frightening thought. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the men in my hometown are not 100% either. Right? Very very. I mean. Some are great, right? Some are great, but some are just not, right? Some are really not. So it took me like traveling around the world to really make a great um to really have an understanding of how this kind of thing should be, right? How women should be. They should, be a certain way, but if they're taking these contraceptive pills, right? Number one, right, it doesn't prevent the pregnancy, but number two, it's just there's a weird action. They're weird. They're acting weird, man. I'm being honest, man. They're acting weird. They're just they ain't something's not right upstairs, right? And it's not their fault, right? It's really not their fault, right? That's the problem. It's Dr. Michelle Dawes' fault, right?